Okay, so should homeschooling parents be their child's math teacher? So this is an interesting question, and maybe some of you out there are trying to find the answer to this question. If you're watching this video, maybe we're searching, hey, should I be my child's math teacher? What's the pros and cons? Well, hopefully this video is going to help you out. But we're going to get to all that in a second in terms of my feelings on it. But let me introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TabletClass Math, and I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. But TabletClass, my program there, is online homeschool math curriculum. It's been used by thousands of homeschoolers through the years, all the states and all over the world, actually. And I've had an opportunity for, well over a decade to work with homeschooling families everywhere. And, you kind of pick up trends, okay? And of course, I'm going to be sticking to this particular topic. But when you hear the same issues, same dynamics year after year after year, family after family after family, different situations, you start forming some pretty strong opinions on this particular topic. I'm also a parent myself, so I'm going to be speaking to you on my homeschooling experiences. One, two, being a math teacher myself and a parent. So hopefully, I'm going to give you some good information here to help guide you. But ultimately, with any of this stuff, you have to do what you think is best for you and your family. Okay, so this is just general advice, but let me go ahead and share with you my feelings on it. All right, so should you be your child's math teacher? In general, I would discourage that. Okay, in general, I would discourage you being your child's math teacher. But let's talk about where you may want to consider being in that role, and then I'm going to talk about the where you do not want to be in that role. So the only kind of time where I've kind of seen it be pretty successful is maybe like at the elementary school level. Okay, so at the elementary level, if your child is using some sort of textbook homeschooling curriculum, then and they don't have any access to any other math teacher or anything else like that, and you feel strongly about your math skills, okay, and you're patient and you have the time, and this is our happy homeschooler here. Of course, their life is totally organized, they're not stressed at all. Where we know in reality, you might be homeschooling two, three, four children, and you might be like, you don't even know, you have no time, right? So, again, this is all going to be dependent upon your own personal situation. So, the first thing is, I would say if you are going to, be actively participating in terms of teaching your child, I would keep that at the elementary level. Okay. So the next thing is you got to make sure you have the time, all right, at that level, the commitment to really be engaged in what's going on with their curriculum. You're almost going to have to be kind of doing the course with them. So you got to make sure you are going to have the enough time to be in that role. Okay, let's say the next thing is the skills. All right, how is your math skills? I mean, at elementary level math, it's just not more than 2 plus 2. Okay, you're talking about, you could be getting into fractions, decimals, and etc. And the one thing here that you have to be very careful with is how your child, whatever the curriculum program they're using, homeschool curriculum program they're using, and the way you've learned something. So let's say, here, let's just do something, for example, this problem, right? Okay, so 315 times 7. Back when you learned this, maybe you learned how to do this problem in one particular way, but maybe the curriculum that your child's learning from is having them do it another way. Of course, you're going to get the same answer, all right? But these are some of the things that you have to kind of consider. You don't want to be like, let's just cancel that out and we'll do it the way I learned it. Now, sometimes you do want to do that because some curriculums, you know, are teaching things in a way that's kind of a little bit, you know, in my opinion, not they're trying to get too fancy, let's say in a mathematical sense. I'm a big believer in like old school math, right? Like, those of you out there, I was in elementary school in the 70s, let's just say, and that kind of stuff works, right? But some of the newer ways and newer philosophies about teaching math can be very confusing to even adults, right? So again, you got to consider how your child's learning, the curriculum, how comfortable you are teaching that material. And then here, are you a good teacher? All right. Now, you won't, that's kind of a hard question. It's a very subjective question. Can you teach? Now, you obviously are the parent of your child, and you're saying, hey, make your bed, brush your teeth, do your homework, do that. I mean, you're always obviously in a teacher role as a parent with our children, but I'm talking about teaching skills, math teaching skills. It's far more than you think, right? Just because you know math, right, and you could do a math problem does not mean you're a math teacher. That's a science. That's an art, in terms of how you communicate and translate. There's a lot that kind of goes into it. So, are you interested in improving your teaching skills? All right. So you just don't want to wing it because uh, bad things can happen. You can get frustrated. Your child can get frustrated. Believe me, teaching math, when you see a great teacher teaching, it's like, wow, I could, that's looks so easy. Like anything else, when you see someone who really knows what they're doing, it always looks easy. But that's, from years of experience and a lot of education. So if you're motivated, you do at the time, you feel like you have strong math skills, and, you feel like you're a good teacher. And I would say, lastly, you have a good, for lack of a better word, let's just put chemistry. That's kind of a crazy word there, but in other words, you have like a good rapport with your child. Like your child's not like rebellious against you at this time. Of course, listen, I get it. Young children are going to be distracted, but if you feel like you have a good dynamic there, okay, and you have all these other things going on and these support things, then I think at the elementary level, you could definitely kind of step in successfully in a kind of a teacher role, okay, especially if there's no one else there. That's important. And I would almost kind of encourage you, if you do have these things, your child will need someone there, okay? And you kind of, we're playing semantics a little bit with this word teacher at the elementary role. It could be mentor, tutor, whatever you want to say, but at the elementary level, that's the only exception to this video. Should you be your child's math teacher? I think if you can, if you have all these things and your child has no other teacher options, then I think it is appropriate and can be very successful at the elementary level. I know plenty of parents who are able to do that. Now, let's talk about where the problems occur. Okay, so elementary level, in general, I've seen a lot of pretty good success stories. Well, the problem occurs is when you are done, teaching your child, everything went good. Let's say third, fourth, fifth grade, and now your child's coming into, let's say, pre-algebra. They're going into middle school math, high school level math, and now this is where it gets very, very interesting. Okay, so here is where I'm going to try to discourage you being your child's math teacher. Okay. Now, some of you out there, okay, many of you out there have, degrees in engineering, science. This has nothing to do with your knowledge of mathematics, because I'm speaking about situations where, the father or the mother has a PhD in mathematics. I've even seen situations where the parent themselves is the actual math teacher. Okay, so this has nothing to do. What I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with your ability or your formal education. None of that. Okay, so and this is where people get in trouble a little bit. So typically, what I've seen is parents who are like, "Oh, I was really good in algebra, geometry. I aced that in school," or like, "Hey, I have a degree in, computer science," or and they're confident about it. They want to do the right thing. Listen, I'm not knocking any parent for wanting to help their child. That's just natural. Okay, but here's typically what I've found. Right, so at these levels, okay, your child is like a teenager, right? So they change. This is, listen, when your child's at the elementary level, you know, uh, they're their maturity level is different. Obviously, they're kind of they need a lot more guidance. But at this age level, in general, I'm speaking in general terms here. Your child is starting to like, challenge you a little bit. Maybe like, you're not becoming like, your child is looking elsewhere to get away from the parents. Okay, let's just be honest about it. Okay, so or they're not. They're going to start questioning things that you say. It starts getting interesting, okay, in terms of where a child's at. And by the way, too, it's pretty crazy when you teach like middle school math, like say sixth, seventh, and eighth, and ninth. As a parent, you can obviously understand that at your child's age levels here, like 11 or 12, 13, 14, but they become different people, like discreetly different people. It's pretty interesting when you teach sixth grade math. Uh, and generally speaking, the students are very, excited and whatnot. And then seventh grade, oh boy, seventh grade, big changes. Oh, rambunctious, and I'm talking about in school classroom settings. It can be kind of crazy. Then in eighth grade, they kind of change differently. Then ninth grade, high school algebra, they become different people. So your child is going through all these kind of different emotional changes, and they're kind of growing up and everything else. So there's a lot of different things kind of going on. So for the first thing is, um, for lack of a better word, your child is going to want to work with someone else. All right, and they're not going to. They're generally, and I don't want to mean this in any kind of mean, derogatory kind of fashion. They're going to not want you as their math teacher. Now, um, there are exceptions. That doesn't mean that they don't want to hang out with you, they don't love you, they don't want to listen to you. They can enjoy your company, but typically they're going to want to like work with someone else. Okay, they're going to be like, okay, I'm with you 24/7 as a parent. They're going to want to start experiencing interacting with like other experience, especially at the middle school level. They're going to have different teachers for different classes possibly. So what I've seen, and by the way, I'm just kind of reporting. You don't want to get angry at the messenger. And it has been my own personal experience as well. Like, hey, when my son was like at this level, he was like, oh, all of a sudden he's not wanting to listen to me as much. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I was a kid myself, and I remember this. But just hearing from different parents doesn't mean you don't have a great relationship with your kid. That has nothing to do with it. I'm talking about just being a math teacher. You're going to be having to do a lot of instruction, and so they're going to be listening to you enough on other things. Their entire other structure, of their life. You're going to be in it, like they're going to want to like have a break from you or whatever you want to say. Okay, so this is what I've found through the year. So because they're interested in maybe like, hey, listening to someone else, you know, you don't want to force yourself into that role if you can have options. All right. So let's just kind of keep our first reason why you don't want to do it, because your child is probably looking to not want to work with you directly as their math teacher. All right, that's the first thing. And I know I was kind of a little extra redundant on it because I'm probably trying to be a little sensitive because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here. All right, the second thing is basically is your kind of teaching skills, let's say. Now, just because you have, let's say, a degree in engineering or whatever the case, and you know this material super well, again, doesn't mean that you have the teaching skills. You have the experience, okay? You don't want to be trying to get these teaching skills. Teaching math is a completely different thing of knowing math, all right? Don't confuse the two, all right? So you don't want to be trying to learn how to teach while you're trying to teach your child. Do you understand? You don't want to be like, oh, after a year or two of teaching you, I finally got good at teaching. Well, teaching math, that's not going to benefit your child. You want to get your child connected with an experienced math teacher, especially at these levels, because when you're starting to learn algebra and geometry and more advanced mathematics, you really do need to know how to communicate these abstract concepts in a way that they're going to understand. That comes through experience. Okay, so unless you are an experienced math teacher, you don't want to just kind of go down into this realm where it's different at the elementary level. Okay, you're working with your child, they're young, they're developing. That's a different kind of deal. Okay, it could definitely work. But here, you start running into all kinds of different issues, and you're really going to have to increase your game in terms of how to teach abstract concepts. And unless you've been doing it for a long time, all right, you're not going to be giving your child the best education in math. All right, so that's the first thing. Um, when it comes to teaching skills, right? And you don't want to learn this. Now there are exceptions. Some of you out there, they're like, hey, listen, I have 3 kids. I taught my youngest child all the way, to 12th grade pre-calculus, and they're in college doing great. Again, there are exceptions to what I'm telling you, all right? And none of this is like an absolute rules. But in general, from all the stories that I've heard, okay, I've heard, oh my goodness, I know this stuff, but but we're so frustrated, both of us. I'm trying to teach my child, and they're still not getting it. But I know I understand it, but they don't get it. I mean, it gets, and then it kind of leads to number 3. Okay, and the number 3 reason is frustration. All right, frustration. Hopefully, I spelled that correct. So, is if you go down this route and you try it, and you get frustrated, your child gets frustrated, and there's a lot of frustration, that's really going to create a lot of other problems. Okay, that's going to discourage your child. They're going to get, they're going to get some sort of math anxiety possibly. You're going to get upset. You're going to start thinking possibly negatively about homeschooling. Oh, this isn't working. Da, 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 da. So you run the risk of a lot of frustration. Maybe you're already there right now. Okay, so and the frustration comes from 2 things. Frustration will come from, one, the parent thinking, "Hey, I can teach my kid math," and 2, your child being like, "Yeah, we can also do this." So there's buy-in, and it's noble. I'm not saying that, hey, you shouldn't. It's a bad concept to want to be your child's math teacher. Absolutely not. Okay. And by the way, you may not have an option. All right. But when there's 2 people, they think this is a good idea, but it's not working out, and you keep repeating the same mistakes or trying and trying and trying, but the actual understanding and comprehension is just not there. You're going to run into a lot of frustration, which is going to sour the dynamic. Okay, and you run the risk of just having negative feelings being about just homeschooling in general. So you don't want to have that, especially if you're committed to homeschooling, right? So, anyways, that's a third thing. Remember, it doesn't have anything to do with your knowledge of mathematics. This is all the other things, right? Your teaching skill, your experience, and of course, you run the risk of spending 3, 4, 5 months trying to teach your child, and then where does that leave them? Okay, it doesn't leave them in a good situation. So, what should you do, right? Let's talk about what should you do. Um, Now, I'm kind of trying to summarize some of the bigger things here about why you don't want to be your child's math teacher, based upon various different situations I've been a part of through the years. Okay, now if you are strong in math, okay, you should, and you feel, and you're committed, and you have all, the time, the skills, and good chemistry, and you have all these things, then what should be your kind of role? Well, you could be definitely in a very successful kind of tutor role or mentor. That is a different deal, okay? Right? Absolutely. You can be kind of learning alongside your child and figuring things out together. That's an excellent, excellent role to be in. Okay, if you have the time, and that's a totally different deal than being, the person that's doing the direct instruction. What I'm talking about is like here. Let's just do a quick example. All right, here is you. Okay, and here is your child. All right, sorry for the poor stick figures, but you're going to be like, all right, today we're going to learn about the quadratic formula. All right, we're going to learn about the quadratic formula. You're going to teach this concept to your child. All right, well, how do you teach this? Well, I know about the quadratic formula. I know what it is, da 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 da. Guess what? If you don't have a great lesson plan, all right, All right, and you really know this, and now you got to think about, okay, I got to tell them what it is, how we use it, examples, blah, blah, blah. Do you know how much work this is? That's an insane amount of work. Then you got to like rehearse it. You got to make sure it's good, and then you got to be comfortable teaching it, and understanding the mechanics of teaching. So, asking questions. That's one of the most important things you can do. All right, so Billy, okay, can you tell me what the quadratic formula is used for? What circumstances we want to use a quadratic formula in? So that's a question, right? So then there's like wait time. Wait time. Here, this is a little thing here. Wait time is a real critical concept in teaching. Is when you ask a question and you purposely pause for like 3 seconds. You don't kind of like force them a response. So, Billy, tell me again why we want to use the quadratic formula. Under what circumstances do we need to use the quadratic formula? Then you pause, you wait. You don't let them, you kind of let them think. Okay, da 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 da. See this dynamic, all right? Wait time and just experience of asking questions and everything. This is all part of the teaching, along with several other things. Okay, so there's a lot involved there. Okay, now this is like direct instruction. This is what I'm trying to discourage you to be in. First of all, you're going to have to spend a lot of time preparing lessons, really thinking about it, to actually do the teaching, effective teaching to your child. Okay, now that's different than this situation. Okay, here let me do this. Like the tutor mentor situation is completely different. That would look something like this. Okay, so here is the lesson or the topic. Okay, let's call it the quadratic formula. And both of you might be learning this together. Okay, and then your child goes to do the homework, right? And they run into a problem, and then they might ask you, "Hey, how do I do that again?" Or do you remember how to do this? What did the lesson say? And you're saying, oh yeah, remember we have to do this and da 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 da. That is completely different. That's a very strong supportive role that you want to be in. Okay, this is the mentor kind of model, the tutor model. Okay, now of course, all this is contingent upon you having the time, the skills, and wanting to be in that role. But this is if you can be in that role, that's an excellent role to be in. Okay, so. So what does this all mean? How can we all kind of how can we summarize this? Well, I think it comes down to what program you're using. All right. What is your homeschooling plan? What curriculum are you using? Are you using an online, um, video-based math instruction? Are you using a textbook? How does your child like to learn? Have they been successful with this program before? Do you not know anything about it? You really got to do your research. So, the more important roles I think you should be playing as a homeschool parent in terms of math is this tutor mentor role and research role in terms of the curriculum. Go do your research on this particular math programs and say, hey, is this going to work for your child? That's like the most important type of thing you can do, right? Finding a program that's going to work for them. Okay, so just don't take any program and force it. In other words, don't just accept a program and be like, okay, we're going to make it work. All right, well, you might be able to make it work, but if it's not working, you're going to have to change. So doing your research up front to find a good curriculum, so a good program that that you think is going to work for your child, and you're going to be kind of involved in. All right, and then also if you can be that tutor mentor, this is going to be a real, game changer in terms of your homeschooling success. Right, so this has been my experience through the years. Yeah, you want to really find an excellent math teacher for your child at the middle school, high school level, right? They're the experts. Even to teach like high school level math, you need to do effectively. You need a degree in mathematics. Okay. Now some people are like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous because I could teach. I know algebra 2 or geometry. You don't need a math degree, calculus, and everything. Listen, I'm just telling you, if you go and get your certification to teach, and an excellent top magnet school, public school, you're gonna need a degree. Okay, more or less. Either a math education degree or an actual degree in mathematics. If you think about it, your high school teachers are teaching calculus AP, AP statistics. I mean, that's college level mathematics, all right? So, like for me, I have a degree in mathematics, I have a master's degree. These are highly educated, and this is, experienced teachers. That's what they do for a profession. And that's really the level of immersion you need to be an effective math teacher. And your child will benefit from being in working with or learning directly from an experienced, well-qualified math teacher. It's worth the investment. And that's not to demean what it takes to be an elementary teacher as well, because learning how to be an elementary teacher, really, there's a heavy emphasis on, hey, how do you teach? How do you communicate to young people? So again, there's a lot of variables here for you to consider. You yourself have to look at your own situation, okay, and make an assessment of what you want to do and what you think your family wants to try. Don't be afraid to try things, by the way, too. I don't want to so discourage you here in terms of trying to be your child's math teacher that where you feel like you can't maybe even test the waters a little bit, or maybe try it out. What I'm saying is, hey, if you feel really strongly that you can be and it could work, then try it out but don't be so committed to it where you can't make a change, where you spend 1 year and you get frustrated because your child just simply can't afford to lose that amount of time, through their education. You got middle school, they can't, like, for example, you can't go through seventh grade math and at the end of it being like, oh, that didn't work. That's not fair. That's not a good situation, because that's going to have, major impact on your child. So again, big things that you want to be doing is really, figuring out, do your research on what program you want to be, and determine, if you can be that tutor or mentor, all right, and set up that structure for whatever math that your child's going to be facing, okay? And if you want to try to be your child's math teacher, just be committed to everything it takes to do so. So I know this video was a little lengthy, and I did want to get a lot of information out there for you, and I wanted to, not just be discreet about it. Like, no, you should not be your child's math teacher, blah 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 blah. Because in the real world, nothing is that discreet. Yes, no, it doesn't work that way. Okay, there's always exceptions to the rules, but in general, okay, and I'm talking. I've worked with families where the parents are actual math teachers or the dad's a PhD in math. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you yourself. A lot of this has to do with teaching and the unique environment of homeschooling. All right, so hopefully you got something out of this video, and you're like, okay, that was worth watching. If you're still around, if that was the case, please consider hitting that like button. Also, if you're new to my YouTube channel, I've been on YouTube for like 12 years at this time. I have a lot of videos on homeschooling topics, homeschooling questions. I think that that I've had many parents ask me over through the years. So hopefully you consider subscribing. I actually have a playlist on my channel dedicated to homeschooling. And of course, if you have a specific homeschool question about our homeschool math curriculum, you can go ahead and just check out the link in the description of this video and use our contact page. But with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your homeschooling adventures. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.